We will now do a stand type map in ArcGIS Pro informed by the imagery layer. So let's go to Map, Base Map, Imagery, and then zoom to the area of interest. Let's go ahead and just do, let's go right here. And now the View tab, Catalog pane. So click on that, and then you'll have this catalog pane here, and you'll need to go to Folders. And if you don't have the folder you're working in, right-click, Add Folder Connection, locate the folder you want, and let's just say GISNT, OK, and now that's located there. I'm going to go into GISNT, that's going to load up, and I'm going to use my discard folder for this example. I'm going to right-click on discard and say New Shapefile. And I could also use a geodatabase if I wanted to, but I don't right now. So this is going to be Stan's demo. It's going to be a geometry type polygon. It does not have M or Z. Coordinate system, I'm going to use the drop down of, I can use one of these for, I can just take the coordinate system from that. If I don't want that, I can use this globe here. And then I can search for a projected coordinate system, UTM, NAD83, UTM zone 19 north. Now I'm going to go ahead and run, and that will create the new layer and add it to my data frame. Now I need to go to the Edit tab, which is here, and then Create Features. And the first thing I'm going to do is first click on that, and I'm going to create a polygon. And I'm going to say that my property is all of a sudden this. And now I want to be able to see the stands underneath this polygon, so I'm going to double click and change this to a black outline in the Symbology tab, and then close that. And now instead of creating features, I want to modify them. So I'm going to click on this Modify Features tab and close Create Features and close the Catalog pane. And you see under here we have the Split tool. That works just the same as in QGIS, so we're going to zoom in, click once outside of the feature, and then let's start here. And each click adds a vertex. We're just going to go around this bog here. And this area here needs attention too, but we'll just go around the simple shape here for now. And let's see, we can go down around here and then out. Double click to finish, and now those are two separate features. And I'm still using the splitting tool. I want to split off this forested area here, so starting outside, continuing inside, tracing the border, click, 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 and then we have to end outside as well, and that creates two features here. So now this is a stand, or very much not a stand. This is a stand, and this is the area I have left to do. Looks like we have a fairly obvious difference in composition here, so let's go ahead and clip that out. Going around, and let's stop there. And split failed. New geometry must intersect polylines and intersect polygons in two or more places. We've got one there and two there, so what's going on? The issue is that this is selected and it's not actually looking at this, so it wants to work with this one. So I'm going to have to close out of that somehow. Let's see if Control Z works. Yes, that does work. Control Y brought that back in, so Control Z again. So what I need is to tell it that I'm looking at this one. And I do that using the Select tool. So go ahead and click on that. Now I'm looking at this one. I could also select that one or that one, but I want this one. So now I'm going back into Modify and Split. And I can go ahead and click on that tool. Now that that's selected, I can work with that. Click once outside, carry along there, and that is how Arc keeps track of what you're looking at. So double click to finish, and now we have those two parts. And again, now both of these are selected, I can say, well, I want to split this one here. There's a bit of a compositional difference there. So starting outside, clicking along here, and what this should do is just split this one in half without affecting this one at all. And there it is. Next, I'm going to separate out this whole corner. I can see there's recent management going on here, so I'm going to again select the feature that I want to split, go to Modify, go to Split, select the Split tool, start outside, has to cross a blue line there, and I have a little bit of a bog there that I have to decide if I'm going to include that or exclude that, and I'm doing my best to just trace along the edges of where they've been working there, and that's that. So now I have this separated out, and I can say, well, this is a bit of a difference here. Let's go ahead and split that out. And likewise, it's a difference here. Don't need to go all the way in this example, but we can just keep refining this and keep selecting different parts that we want to modify and break down into their individual stands, remembering that a stand is a unit of trees, homogeneous enough to be treated as a unit. And now we need attributes. We need stocking, we need composition, and we need size class. Right-click, open attribute table. Before I carry on, I'm going to save my edits. Save all edits, yes. You may have noticed that that allowed me to add a new field, which is what I want to do next, and that is now grayed out, so it won't let you add new fields while there are unsaved features here. So now go ahead and add a new field, and we're going to call this one stocking. After that, click here to add a new field. I'm going to call that size. Add a new field, and I'm going to call that species. And the data type, I don't want to be long, I want to be text. Likewise here, text. Just double click, that drop down comes up, text. So every one of these I'm going to type text in. When I'm done, I'm going to go ahead and save, applying changes, good. Now I can close that, and now I have stocking, size, and species. For the purpose at hand, we want species as hardwood, mixed wood, or softwood, size classes 1 through 3, and stocking A, B, or C, matching the stocking guide. So we'll be using the same format here, where H means hardwood, M means mixed wood, S means softwood, 1 means seedlings and saplings, 2 means pole timber, 3 means saw timber, and stocking A, B, C, overstocked, well stocked, and understocked. And of course this is going to be an estimation that would be refined with ground surveys. For example, let's go ahead and select this feature here. That selects it here. Stocking, we are going to look at this and say, I don't see any recent harvest. These canopies all seem to be pressed right up against each other. So I'm going to call that A, or well stocked. Size class, these look like fairly substantial canopies. I'm going to call that a size class 3. And species, let's see, I see some green in there, but mostly this looks like an open canopy and this looks like fall color imagery, so I'm going to call that a hardwood stand. And of course that is a preliminary assessment that we can then refine in field inventory. And now let's go ahead and select this one here. This one I'm a little more comfortable calling a mixed wood. I'm going in sort of reverse order here. And that's got to think about it for a moment. But size class, I'm going to call the rest of this approximately the same. So size class 3, stocking A. Then you go through this entire stand here. And this, of course, is a bit of an aberration here. So let's go ahead and just see how to deal with that. So stocking would be blank, size blank, species blank. You could just leave those blanks, or you could come up with something else like bog. Or if you're not comfortable calling it a bog, you can call it a wetland. So that's that. And then we can go ahead and save the edits. Save all edits, yes. And now we can close this. And let's look at how to label this. That will be right-click and label. And you can just barely see that 0 has popped up as a label. That's not what we want. So right-click and label properties. And we can see this is the default here. I'm going to delete that, and let's try some basics here. Double click on stocking, apply, and that one's blank of course, but let's go ahead and see here. We have stocking A. If we want to display all at once, if we're using the arcade language, just hit space plus space, and then double click on size, apply. Now we see A3. We want to do species as well, space plus space, species, apply, A3H. And that's flipped, so we want H3B or H3A, whatever the case may be, so species, size, stocking. So let's start over. So we want species, space plus space, size, space plus space, stocking, apply, H3A. Now I want these labels to stand out better. I can go to symbol and then appearance. And let's change the color of the text to a nice bright yellow and apply that change. Yellow stands out very well against most air photos, so that's what I like to use for labels. So now with that done, every time I go ahead and change one of these, let's take a look here. That's looking like, well, we'll call that pole size mixed wood. And let's go ahead and right click, open the attribute table. And then we want to select this feature so we know we're editing the right one. We're going to call that stocking class A. Those look pretty tightly packed together. We're going to call that size class 2 and species mixed wood. Could call that softwood, but let's go ahead and just call that mixed wood for now. Work that out in the inventory. And as soon as I hit enter there, M2A appears because it's reading M2A. Now let's go ahead and save the edits there. Save all edits, yes. And now let's see if I can move that around. See, I want to have species over there, stocking in the middle, so let's work on that. So species, stocking, size. That makes better sense. Now I'm going to save those edits, save all the edits. And within the attribute table, if I want to have species over here, and stocking over here, I can do that. So now it goes in the order of the labels here, species, size, stocking. Now looking at this corner here, I definitely want to split that off. So one more time, let's make sure this is selected. Yes, it is. I can use my split tool here, clicking once outside, click, 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 click. And the reason why I use this splitting tool is that whenever I create or split these two features apart, they share all these same vertices. They're each defined by the same points and the same lines connecting those points. So I never get a sliver between them. So if I was trying to add something on to the outside here, I'd have to make sure that I followed each one of the vertices defining this boundary. And if I wanted to try to create a new polygon, it would be more difficult to make sure that every one of those matches. It's very labor intensive to do that. So by splitting, starting with a big polygon for the whole property and then making it smaller through each successive split, that makes sure that the topology, which is different from topography, topology is how the shapes relate to one another, stays tight. So every one of these exactly matches from this polygon to that one. There's never a sliver, there's never a gap. Now go ahead and right click and zoom to layer, save the edits, yes, clear the selection, close the attribute table, zoom in, zoom out, and now you're ready to create a map, assuming you've finished all of this, showing your stand types. There's still a lot to refine here, but those are the basic elements of creating a stand type map in ArcGIS Pro.